Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be for you. Thank you for checking out the video. If you like these guides, particularly IntenZ, hardcore survival guides, why not drop a like? Why not drop a sub if you'd like to see more? We also stream 4 to sometimes 5 days a week, a variety of servers. But we're going in again. We've done 2 of these how I get started in XYZ spawn. This one's a little bit different because currently on the US server, they are in their winter cycle. So if you're new to IntenZ, every 3-month wipe cycle, they go from summer, then autumn, and then the 3rd and final month is winter Chernarus. So, not only have you got to survive the zombies, the various medical problems you can get with the Siberia mod, but you've also got to now think about your insulation and not dying from the cold, which is great. If you love hardcore survival, this is what it's all about. So in the first 2 episodes, if you've watched the Zletlo and the Nizhny spawns, you'll know I talk about getting your priorities right early doors, and your number 1 priority is still going to be to get that temporary melee weapon. I've already set up the character, pretty generic pick of the points that I've allocated to my skill tree. And I can tell already, even though we're in a blizzard, we're in Elektro. I'm trying to scan ahead to see if I can see a bush where I can get a long stick. Because remember how tough we've seen the zombies can be and what damage they can do to you on these servers. And there's one there, right there. In the winter, you want to look out for these bushes, we'll call them. And we'll gather a long stick because it gives us an emergency early melee weapon, which will cause us and save us, a lot of heartache. We certainly don't need shades. So that'll be brighter for you guys now on the video. And I'm going to just go into this factory. Some people call this the sew-in factory. We're going to go in here and we're going to allocate our perks, because you want to do that once it's safe to do so. So just sit in the corner. This is what I chose. We're going to go influenza resistance because it's cold. Recovery of hematomas is pretty big on IntenZ. Fast sleep. I quite like fast sleep, so I'm just going to choose that. Shock resistance. We're going to do these a bit quick. You can slow this down if you want to see what points I chose and why. Quick legs. Correct breathing. I normally choose that one. Strength. We'll go strongman. Then we go silent steps. Cold-blooded. I've put a lot in survival, notice, because it's going to be really key to be able to light a fire, have a resistance to the cold. Rough hands, so we can break down branches, long sticks, and not get potentially as many cuts to our hand as we might do. More cold resistance. And you can stash items now if you want to. So you'd only have to go up to level 8 if you wanted that 2nd level of cold resistance. And I always put a couple of points in Butcher on a new character, so that if I do kill a chicken, cut it up, or any other animal, maybe even a freshie, you'll get bones that are at least badly damaged, which will enable you to then go fishing. So we're not going to go crazy looting this building. We have found a raincoat. Look, bad insulation, low insulation, but the police jacket gives me 8 slots, so I'm going to keep the police jacket. Some of these picks will be preferential, you know, you do what you do you. Pick what you want. But as I know Elektro very well, and I know what you tend to need to survive in these cold conditions, we're going to want to get a fire going. But ideally, you'd get a fire going when maybe you've got something to eat. Maybe you've got a can that is frozen, because the food items will sometimes be frozen now in these cold conditions. And you have to defrost them at a fire before you can eat them. I'm just going to go straight down to the main body of town. If you know Elektro well, you'll recognize this. You'll know that I'm heading in the general direction of the PD, the fire station, the well. And that's what we're going to hit early doors, but we're already dying to the cold. So you've got a choice. You've only got 1 flare, you've only got 1 rag. We can find another one of those branches There's one. These bushes. We can get another long stick. So the first one is our melee weapon. The second one is going to be our fuel for the fire. And we're going to get an early buff. We've got no food to defrost. We've got no other reason but to get a buff. And we've got our first zombie to deal with. So we're making sure we're blocking. One high strike. Second high strike. Power. We're doing everything in our power not to let her hit us. And we can't search. Well, we've already got bloody hands from the branch, so we might as well search the zombie. If I didn't have bloody hands, because I haven't got any gloves, I wouldn't have bothered searching this Z. As it happens, the Z is carrying guts, which when we get a blade, we can now turn into rope. Someone's left some hose reel outside. Brilliant. No idea why. Quickly check the shed. I'm probably just going to get a fire in here. It'll give us the buff. It'll buy us some time to do a bit more looting. There's another one of those raincoats we don't want because we need the slots to hold what little we've got so far. It's about 12 midday in the server. So as I'm only going to be doing about an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour, I'm not going to bother picking up any light sources. But if you're going to be playing for longer on your run, hopefully, you might want to pick up some light sources because this server does get dark. Oh shit. There was already a rag in the fireplace, so we can save our rag maybe for our next fire. Maybe if we get some disinfectant, we can make an improvised bandage. But why aren't I clearing up that cut that I've got? You can see it next to the HUD in the bottom right. I've got one graze in white. Now, also notice on the HUD, I'm not losing any blood. So if I were to use an undisinfected bandage to heal, I have got a chance of catching sepsis a little bit further down the line. So I'm just going to let that wound heal itself. It can take a few attempts, early doors, to light a fire, even though we activated the perk, which supposedly makes it easier to light your fire. And another thing to bear in mind, and something I might give you a good example of here now, is because our insulation is poor, look, bad, medium, and medium, haven't got any gloves, haven't got a face covering, haven't got enough rags to make any either, you can sit in front of a fire, and after about 30 seconds, a minute, you might start tearing your hair out, and you might start thinking, I'm not even getting a buff here. What's going on? Well, that's because my clothing is not necessarily good enough, early doors insulation-wise, to even get the buff. To be honest, I haven't played winter for about 2 months since the EU server was on its winter cycle, and I may have made a bit of an early schoolboy error there, but I'm happy to leave that in the video. We're only going to do this in one take. Whether we live through and then we're able to make a decision where do we want to go next, or if we die, at least the whole point of this is talking you step by step what I do, how I like to get started in a DayZ IntenZ winter spawn, as it happens to be today from Elektro. But I won't always make the right decisions, and I might even end up dying at the end of the video, which won't be a bad thing. And this is a schoolboy error. I've started a fire with my only flare, and I haven't got enough insulation to even get the buff, so it was a waste of a flare. And I've now caught a cold. That symbol down next to the cut means I need to get medication from the hospital. Level 1 medication as it stands. If it turns yellow, I will need level 2 flu medication. And if it turns red, I'll need level 3, which cures pneumonia, or I'm dead. Zombie on the roof often indicates a player has been by recently, and we did see something in the road, some loot. Now what I will do is I'll loot a couple of these houses. See, I've found a beanie. Now this might seem a bit ridiculous, but just that beanie on my head, I think even a badly damaged beanie gives you medium insulation. I'll go back to my fire, because it's right next to me. Oh, it gives me low insulation. And I just want to check. Has that one extra piece of clothing enabled me to now get the buff? It doesn't look like it. I probably would have had to find at least a medium insulation hat. Or even better, maybe high. But at least our wound has healed itself. But we're on the clock now for the medicine. In my head now, the decision making I'm making on the fly, the things I'm thinking about is get better clothing for insulation, wash our hands, have a drink. If we can find some food, great. Fire department is often a good source of high insulation clothing. They also have a lot of slots in the jackets and the trousers. No, it's not giving us the buff. And also you might get a fire axe, which is one of the best melee weapons in the game. And on top of that, the fire department is not far from the hospital, where we now need to look for cold, flu, maybe even pneumonia medication. Do we want to fight 300 zombies on the way? No. So I'm always got my head on a swivel. And I'm not even desperately looting these houses thoroughly because I'm on the clock. Okay? We could run into another player. If we do, we'll talk to them. We'll try and be friendly. We'll see how it plays out. Again, unscripted. Completely doing this on the fly. That's better. Pristine hat. I'm not bothering going back to the fire now, though. Although maybe I should. Now we've got that jacket. Oof, it's a risk. No, we'll commit. We'll commit. We made the schoolboy error. I should have come looking for clothing first before I did the fire. I've got to live and die by my mistakes. As will you. So let me show you what happens when you make a schoolboy error. And you frantically rush to get that first fire. And you sort of wish you hadn't done then. If you see, we're still dying to the cold. We've got one downward arrow. But our insulation arrow is up. It's going in the right direction after putting on the hat and the pea coat. Just make sure nothing's buried away in the clothing that could be of use. We don't need the beanie now. We've got the radar hat. And I always like to check these little shops before I go to the well. These little taco stands, or whatever you want to call them. And there's two facing each other near this Elektro well. But this is a bit of a hot spot. The PD is very close. And there's a building next to the PD that also spawns ammunition, etc. Old frozen up sex machine from Dusk Till Dawn has seen us, so we need to fight him. Two power strikes, one small strike, another small strike, another small strike, block in, another small strike. Done. Again, we've already got bloody hands, so we might as well search him. We got out of that with one hematoma, which is a big win on this server. Nothing. Don't expect to find much on these Zeds, mind. I know we did find guts. Well, this is pretty huge. We found a baseball bat, which is much better than our long stick. Not a lot better after the update. We've got some rotten food. We'll hang on to that in case we find anti-stomach ache medication. There's some more rotten food here. Sardines. Now let's not bump into 2 or 3 zombies and have to fight them all at the same time. Standard rules of IntenZ. We've aggroed this one. Stay still. Let them come to you. Hit them as soon as they get in range. Second shot. Oh, she dropped like a stone. Second shot. Nice. Again, we'll search her because we've already got bloody hands, but then we're going to go to the well and we're going to wash our hands. Bear in mind on this server, if you have a sip from the well with your bare hands, no hand wraps, no gloves, you're not using a bottle, you're not using a container like a cooking pot, you've got a chance of getting sick. So you have to weigh that up. Nice little head torch. Do you want to get a little bit of hydration in you? But do you also want to risk getting sick? I'm going to risk it today. Also, just by sitting at the well, you could get shot in the head. That's DayZ for you. Wash our hands. 100% make sure you wash your hands before you drink. Otherwise, you definitely get sick. Quick look. They're clean. I'm actually going to put my bandage on there. We could have used our disinfected bandage to get rid of that cut, and there would have been less chance of us getting sepsis, but I decided to risk it. That's up to you. While you've got a disinfected bandage, it is good to keep on top of those slight grazes, but because you only spawn in with half a bandage, I decided to risk it. Let that one cut heal itself. And I'm only stopping talking because I want to listen. Is anybody creeping on me? You can hear the crunch of the snow. Can I hear someone fighting a zombie? Closing a door? And while we're this close, we might as well go and have a look at the PD. We're dying of the cold all the time, though. We're desperate for a blade, because at least with a blade we could cut up some clothing, make some improvised hand wraps. We're going to have to fight this dude. But now we're not going to search the Zeds, because we've cleaned our hands. We're just going to deal with them as best we can. I got a bit lucky there. I thought the North American ping was going to screw me over, but we dealt with him. Notice how I'm not sprinting to the PD. I'm looking ahead. I may even start crouch walking. We can hear one close. We can see it. Other side of that wall. So I want, ideally, my stamina to improve before I engage. And another option is just go around. Okay, there's one there anyway. So either way we went, we were going to have to deal with at least one Zed. There we go. There's another one in the background there, I can see over her shoulder. See how I left my stamina build up then? So I could at least put one good strong hit. Oh, that zombie's on another player, I think. Oh no, it's just going a bit crazy, I think. What you might call in the trade a runner zombie. Thought we had a bit of company then, for a second. I think he'd seen us. So again, in case there was a zombie in that tunnel over his shoulder, I've let him come to us. The bat gives you good range, so you can stay away from their vicious strikes. Especially after the 1.22 update, they've made zombies a bit more dangerous, a bit more deadly. They'll ruin your clothing quicker. They're more likely to give you a cut. So we want to keep them at range at all times. Closing the doors behind you is not a bad little habit to get into. I'm going to take... Well, I'm not going to take the cat food. Cat food gets you pretty sick pretty quick. I am going to drop that. I'm going to take this gun because, you know, if it was a PvE only server, maybe you wouldn't worry about weapons, but there are other players on this server. So we're going to take the gun in case we get into trouble. Now at least we've got a way of defending ourselves. A few shots in that P1 pistol. And when you're looting this Elektro PD, whatever server you're on, always check the scaffolding. Because PD ammo will spawn. There's a taser there, we don't want it. I'm creeping. I'm hoping not to aggro that Zed before we finish looting. Alright. So now we'll do our traditional looting of the PD. Let's get off the scaffolding and fight this dude. Shouldn't be too much trouble. Police loot also spawns in this car outside the front. Just have a little look up and down the street though. Hotspot this area, as I said. Okay, they've got a teddy bear today. Maybe they've switched that up, I don't know. PD front door is open. Back door's closed though. We want to do this quick. We're going in, we're scanning the rooms. Can we get some more 9mm maybe for our P1 pistol? That would be a big win. A vest, it's badly damaged, but we're going to take it. It's better than nothing. Gives you a bit of extra insulation, believe it or not. We're now no longer dying to the cold. Now we're light blue rather than dark blue. Rubber slugs for shotguns everywhere. There we go. Bingo. Let's load this up. What is it? A worn magazine and a pristine gun, so it shouldn't jam. I'm going to have to leave the guts. We just haven't got the capacity for them, unless we want to carry them. But if we bump into a player now, we're not going to be able to really defend ourselves, are we? We could take the shotty instead of the stick. We don't need the stick anymore. We've got the bat. We've got a better vest, so we'll drop that one. We'll take the worn one. I don't think we're going to be able to carry these guts. To make the rope would be nice, but we want our hands free in case we got to fight zombies or pull the gun out on someone. People like to camp up here. I didn't think there was going to be someone, though, because there was so much loot downstairs. The 9mm, the stabbies. And when you come out of the front door of the PD, because we're on the clock, remember, we need cold medication if we're going to survive. The hospital is up there. There it is. But first, I want to go to the fire department. And we're going to have to try and navigate what I call the path of least resistance. So if I walk down that main street, I know I've got to fight minimum 3 zombies. Maybe 4, actually. Maybe 5. I've just spotted 5. So forget that. We're going to tuck around the back. Always keeping our head on a swivel. We're going to hug this wall. We're going to hope no one's watching us from the apartments up there. I mean, the conditions are not great for a rooftop camping sniper. That's putting it politely. Even those sips at the well haven't quenched our thirst enough to get us into the white. So my stats, early doors, what are we? 20 minutes in? Not great. This is not one for the record books, as in, this is your dream start on a winter IntenZ server. It's far from it. But we thrive on the challenge. This dude, we're going to have to fight. And if you've got a choice of fighting these firefighting Zeds, there's a small stone. We can craft that into a knife. So that's like gold dust. But see that dude over there's got a helmet on. This one hasn't. I'd always rather fight this one all day long. I've mistimed that horrifically and I got away with it. That could have been a concussion. But that guy will drop quicker. For obvious reasons, he's not wearing a helmet. I'll check out the front of the fire department. It looks fairly quiet. So we'll use the gap in the fence. Now stuff can spawn. Firefighting stuff can spawn in this shed. So I always check it. Maybe there's an axe. Nope. And we'll just sneak in the back while we're right by the door. And it's not ideal. This is not ideal. Stealth has gone up, and I'm going to quickly... Dexterous fingers is not going to help us against the Zeds. But we want this clothing, but we've got 2 Zeds in the building with us, okay? Brilliant insulation. Gotta love DayZ when they hide your loot around the corner from you. Amazing. Look, 18 slots, best insulation. Now this jacket is a bit banged up, but look at it, it's damaged. It's still high insulation. Now I know that's best insulation, but look, you get 15 slots as opposed to the 8 you would have got. Now, would finding a firefighting axe be good? Yes. But I'm going to take my wins. I'm going to take my W's. We got the pants and we got the jacket. I'm going to dip. I could have searched upstairs. I could have searched the tower for a firefighting axe, but we've already got a bat. Let's not get greedy. We found pants and a jacket. Leave. We found a small stone on the path. I'm going to assume you know what you can do with a small stone, but in case you don't, you can use it, combine it with a boulder, a stone that's sticking out of the ground, and you can make a stone knife. Then we'll be able to cut things up, which will be huge. Again, path of least resistance. Okay. We want to search that car, because this car we're looking at now, directly in front of us, can spawn medical loot. So for sure, we want to take care of this zombie nearest to it. There we go, we've aggroed it. Notice on the bottom left, we're light blue now because of the clothing, and we're regaining health rather than dying of the cold. Again, mistimed swing. Can't search the zombie because we haven't got gloves. The nearest other zombie might aggro on us. So if you want to be crouch walking to be a bit more stealthy, by all means. I'm just taking a bit of a chance, staying upright. Now, we've got a few slots spare, but I'm not going to go gun-ho in the hospital. If you play IntenZ for a while, you get to learn the medications. Like I probably said in the other guides, if you're not too clued up yet on what they all do, you can always look on the IntenZ Discord. And there's a section that will tell you exactly what they do. I'm not sure if that is cold medication, so I'm just going to take it. See, I've been playing this for a long time now. I dread to think the number of hours I've got on IntenZ itself. And I still don't know what some of the meds do off the top of my head, so sometimes I just grab them. And for the sake of science and experimenting, we inject ourselves with stuff if we're desperate. It's not looking good so far at the hospital. Very little loot. And we did see evidence of other player activity. There's more evidence. Crop hiking pants do not spawn in the hospital. But we have found a medical fanny pack, which gives us more slots. Denim jackets don't spawn in the hospital either. And a surgical mask is not great, but it covers our mouth and it might stop us getting frostbite to our face. Even though it's badly damaged, it's pretty pathetic. I'm actually going to draw my gun, because someone could still be upstairs here sorting loot. We've saw civilian clothing dropped that doesn't spawn here. Now, they could be friendly. They might help us out with some cold meds, but I don't know that, do I? You certainly don't get tents. But anyway, we're now chunked. I think that was from the hit we took from the zombie, though, because our health is still going up. We've had no luck with food, other than rotten food. I don't know if that zombie's on another player or me. So we'll try and stay on our toes. Now, if you have knowledge of the map, Chernarus, you've got two options now. You can go... It was on me, that zombie. You can go to Chernogorsk, along the coast. There's a big hospital there. Lots of buildings around the hospital that does spawn medical loot. Or you can take a chance. Now, for the purposes of this video, and to make it tough on myself, not that it hasn't been tough already, we've only found rotten food. We can't eat the rotten food without getting sick, without finding food poisoning medication. Haven't found any of that. We've caught an early cold and we haven't found any cold medication. We still can't even cover our hands with improvised hand wraps even. So I'm going to head down to the summer camp, which is just down the road. There are some houses to loot on the way. Jesus. Okay. And that's pretty huge. In that summer camp, there's another medical building. I'm going to use this to fix up my jacket. Fix it up to worn. It will then give us best insulation. I think it's only one use on this sewing kit. No, there's two. But nothing else we're wearing needs fixing. So we're just going to carry that one-use sewing kit. And again, we're on the clock. So even though we're thirsting to death, we're starving to death, nearly. We're not red apple or red thirst yet. But it won't be long. There's a deer up there teasing us because we haven't got anything to hunt it with. Even though we're, you know, not in good shape, I'm pressing on. Now, a more shall we say, inexperienced player, particularly inexperienced on IntenZ, would probably spend a bit more time looting around town, looking for food that is untainted. Maybe looking for a chicken so they can get some hooks to go fishing. But I could fill my belly and I could sit at the well and drink until I'm full. White water, white food. Happy days. But then I die of pneumonia. So in my mind, I'm thinking I might as well die of thirst. I might as well die of hunger whilst I'm trying to cure my cold, which could turn into flu soon and probably will. So again, it's getting those priorities right in your head in the right order and making a choice that you're going to live or die by, literally. And my choice is to push on, and whether it succeeds or not, we're going to find out probably in the next half an hour, which would be perfect because it would take us up to a 1 hour video. How I like to get started in DayZ and IntenZ when I get an Elektro spawn. But this one might go wrong. Now that is minus 15 degrees. Okay, so it's frozen. I can only drink that if I manage to defrost it. Now, if you put food in your clothing on IntenZ, it will defrost over time naturally. Put it in the clothing that has the best insulation, and it will defrost in the quickest possible time. That's probably the best tip I'm going to give you today in this entire video. Put it in the best insulated item of clothing, and you'll be eating or drinking that item in a couple of minutes' time. Keep an eye on it. Don't forget you've got it. So that can of soda will tide us over eventually. Buy us a little bit more time to look for the cold medication before we die. I'm looting. But you notice I'm trying to do it as quick as possible. There are some zombies I'm going to have to fight. Again, I'm looking ahead. I'm scanning ahead. Here we go. Path of least resistance, okay? Fight this zombie before the one out front spots us. So we don't have to fight two. Alright? That could have been horrible. We could have gone around the front, started fighting that zombie. This one joins in. Happy days. You're now 2v1. You're in trouble. Might get a concussion, might get pain. We've got no medication to deal with them. And look what we found here. Ibuprofen. Now that is extremely lucky. I can't tell you how lucky that is. Oh! It's level 2 flu medication. And our flu just turned into level 2. See, the symbol went from white to yellow. Now if that had been level 1 cold medication, that would have been possibly one of the most unluckiest things I've seen in a long time. But luckily, that was, in fact, level 2 flu medication. So it will start to work against the flu that we've got. And we've got 2 tablets. We might need them both to fight off this flu. But it's a start. It's something in our system working in our favour. Thank God. I'm not going to take the holster. Now that stuff, you can rub it on yourself if you've got a lot of hematomas, and it will speed up the recovery. Help you to get rid of those hematomas. You don't want any more than 4 on this server, otherwise you will start to lose health. So I'm still, in my mind, on the clock. Even though we've got that medication working inside us, I still want to search these buildings pretty quickly, because I want to be at that medical centre in case these 2 tablets are not enough and we need to find some more. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. We could do with a rucksack. We could do with finding a lucky item of food, i.e. food that's not frozen, food that can be eaten, that's not rotten. A knife we still need, or we need a stone. And we're going to find a stone soon, a bigger boulder. And we'll make our knife. We're not going to have time to plant seeds and wait for the fruits of our labour. But on the way to this summer camp medical centre, we're going to be able to make our small stone. So at least we can open a can of food if we were to find one, defrost it in our jacket, over time, we would be able to do that. We're now dying of the cold. We've got matches. Have we? Or no, I'm thinking I'm dreaming. We haven't got matches yet. What am I talking about? So starting another fire is going to be tricky. We're going to need to find a flare, a lighter, matches. Look how our flu symbol has now changed from yellow to white. The medication is working. We might be in trouble here. I'm moving up the road because I only want this one zombie to deal with. Seems like the others over there are actually minding their own business. She's eventually going to find her way to us. Oh, shit. We've hit red food. We're in trouble. We're still going to make a stone knife, though, because we're going to need a knife along the way if we survive. You've always got to think positively. If I survive, I'm still going to need this knife, so I might as well make it there. This is now 10 degrees, so it is defrosting, but it's not defrosting quick enough for our liking. When you hit red food or hydration on an IntenZ server, even though our health is white chunked, you will still start walking like this, as if you've got red health. So this walk to the medical center, to the summer camp, is going to be painful, painfully slow, and we're dying all the time. And I don't mind putting a video out like this as a guide, because you think a guide would be, look how someone who's really experienced at DayZ and IntenZ makes survival look like a piece of piss. And sometimes we get lucky, and in other guides we have perhaps made it look easier than it is. But having a more realistic video go out that says, look, please bear in mind when you play these hardcore servers, I would say 50% of your new lives, your new spawns, will probably look more like this. When your favourite streamer puts up how I raided a base with a wooden spoon I borrowed from my nan's kitchen and killed 400 chads whilst doing it, that's a heavily edited video. We're not going to see any of that on this channel. This is hardcore DayZ, and this is what I get, what happens to me even as an experienced player. I've only got about 1800 hours on DayZ, but I would say the majority of that now is hardcore servers. And I've probably got 200-300 hours in IntenZ if I had to guess off the top of my head. And I've made a bad decision at the beginning. I tried to get a fire going and get a buff when I didn't have sufficient insulation in my clothing. And that's led to me getting an early cold. And having that early cold has panicked me enough to leave Elektro because in search of medication. And okay, that decision was good in itself because I then found the medication just outside of Elektro, and we've actually cured our cold. If you look at the bottoms, look at the icons, that tells me the level 2 flu medication is still in our system, is still working. It also doubles up as level 1 pain medication, so ibuprofen, or ibuprofen, whatever you want to call it, is a good one to find. We've still got one in our pocket. We've still got one hematoma. That's not killing us. The hunger is killing us. And that combined with us being dark blue is bad news. We've made it to the medical, though. We've made it to the hunting area. I don't know whether we can climb this fence now with red food. Yeah, we can. Okay. And food is a bigger priority than our health now. Okay? So I'm going to go past the medical centre. I'm not even going to look in. I mean, if I saw a player out the corner of my eye, then yeah, we'd probably try and shoot them and hope they've got food on them. The door's open. There's not a lot of Zeds here. Well, there's one. Which tells me a player might have been this way. We saw evidence of dropped loot back at the hospital. We're now flashing red. Hunger. So we are dying. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for maybe a chocolate bar in one of these hunting cabins. They can spawn the Zagorki peanut bars or chocolate bars. And look what they can also spawn. Flares. So we could get a fire going. We've also got better insulation boots. Bolts for a crossbow. Not going to bother taking it. That's still 10 degrees. Okay. We're going to search this cabin. We're going to kill these zombies. We're not going to search them because we haven't got rags to make hand wraps unless we find some clothing in this cabin, perhaps. We're going to probably have to deal with this Zed. Yeah, before we search the cabin. Unfortunate thing about not having gloves or hand wraps is those zombies, not the medical ones, but the sort of hunter zombies that hang around here, can carry food like tuna, sardines. So we're going to cut this hiking jacket up and we're going to make it into hand wraps. There we go. We're going to use... We're not even going to make a face mask at the moment. Well, we should really, because it's cold. Why not? Treat yourself, Mike. Make yourself an improvised face mask. But have a look at those symbols. Have a look at that flashing apple. Grim. Not looking good. Our spite is -5, so we still can't open it. But we can search this ugly son of a gun now with our hand wraps, and we won't get bloodied hands. Okay, nothing. We'll make our way across the Bridge of Death, and I call it the Bridge of Death because you will quite often get a lot of aggro on this bridge. Here's our first customer. I mistimed that badly. Got away with it somewhat. Can I search him before another zombie aggro's on me fully? Yes. Here comes the other one. No food on him. Leave our stamina build up while this clown gets into attack mode. Again, we got hit, but we managed to deal with him without a concussion or without pain. The medication is still coursing through our veins for the pain. Not carrying, are they, these zombos? Still -5 on the spite. Drop in the shotgun. Haven't got any ammo for it anyway. Ooh, getting a little long stick. What are we getting a long stick for? Just because we found a flare. Means we can possibly get a fire. We can die in comfort, at least. No chilblains on our deathbed. Not on my watch. See, this one's aggroed on me. So, stop walking. Stop walking forwards. If one aggro's on you, don't walk towards the next zombie on the other side of the bridge. Deal with this clown first. Search him in peace. And then, okay, yeah, we'll deal with that one when the time comes. Oof, yeah, being very, 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 very stingy, our zombie friends. Times like this, when you're fairly proficient at fighting Zeds, he says as he gets battered by one, down into yellow health. You don't mind fighting zombies as long as you can isolate them. I've said this multiple times on other videos. If you can keep it 1v1, you should be able to deal with them. We'll take the battery for our head torch. Still -5. Not helping us. We're now yellow health. The door's open on the lodge, so it seems empty. Seems empty. That door's closed, though. Gun cleaning kit. Not worried about that. Can't eat that. A map. Wonderful. Survival loot at its finest. Deal with this Zed. Another mistimed hit. The hunger seems to have affected Mike's fighting cognitive abilities. Deals with it in the end. Gets concussion, though. Another thing to worry about. No concussion medication on us, so we've just got to rock with it. Could be the least of our worries soon, anyway. Hobble over to this shack. Let's just assume someone's holding an angle on the door. And has heard us fighting Zeds. No. Search thoroughly because our vision isn't very good, so I'm going to keep hitting tab. So we check everywhere. Nothing. Now, even if we found a 3-course meal in this pub, which we're not going to, obviously, we've picked up another cold. We can take a tablet for that. That's one thing we can sort. Our last ibuprofen. Alright, so the cold will go. There's nothing in the blouse. There's nothing down at the bar. But yeah, even if we found all that food, lovely, 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 imagine we found a 3-course meal, the concussion will still make us walk slowly anyway. Which is obviously not ideal. We're going to split the stick. We're going to put it in the fireplace. Could I go and hunt the deer with the 9mm pistol? Potentially. Potentially. But probably not at the speed Michael is moving now. But it's there. It's in the back of your mind. You've got to weigh these things up. We managed to get the fire going first time, which is pretty good. Look at that. Our spite is now 0 degrees. We can drink it. It's obviously going to help our hydration a lot. But it's also going to stop the apple from flashing. There you go. A little bit of nutrition. We've got sufficient clothing now to actually be gaining a heat buff. Dear, dear, dear. Immunity up to 9. We've managed to kick the cold. Little trick here. This is not frozen, so I can drink this now if I want to. If I walk out into the cold after this fire, I probably won't be able to. Now, when you see a bottle and it spawns in, it's probably dirty water, so I might get cholera from drinking it. I've just had that spite, so I'm not going to drink it. But if I was desperate and I was red water, I might just take that chance and drink it anyway, to be honest with you, okay? But bear that in mind. If it's you found it in a building, even though it's 100% full, it's probably still not going to be great, and it's probably going to give you cholera. We fixed up the pants, and look, our health is actually going back up now. Would you believe it? We're still not out of the woods. Let's not get too excited. We're far from out of the woods. But anything that delays your demise and makes those arrows go up, we cleared that cold pretty quick as well. We're going to get a heat buff, so we're going to have the plus next to our temperature gauge for a bit, which will help us go up the road, at least, to the military area. There are a couple of military tents. There are quite a few military zombies, and they can drop sardines, cans of tuna. We're getting close to the point, though, where they're slowly becoming maybe our last resort. Even if we went and killed that deer now, we haven't got a way of making another fire to cook it. We've just used the last flare. You can find matches and flares up by the military area as well. So that'll be another thing we're searching for. But at the moment, this is typical DayZ and typical DayZ IntenZ. Let's keep on top of things. Let's get rid of this wound. We've got a disinfected bandage. Why not? Treat yourself, Mike. Get rid of one symbol down the bottom. Anyway, we're looking like a Prince tribute band at the moment with all the symbols. We've got the plus, so I'm leaving straight away. Don't want to waste any time. The arrows are still going up on the water and food. They won't be for long. They will not be going up for long. But while they are, let's move. See, the food icon has already gone from three up arrows to 2. But the spite is looking decent. Here's another zombie we can potentially find a can of food on. You never know. Since the 1.2 update, 1.22 update, gone are the days of the one tap with the baseball bat. Massively nerfed. As of most of the blunt weapons. A hatchet or a fire axe is your best friend now for dropping the Zeds quickly. Particularly on this server, with a one tap, as they call it. So I'm not even going to search the medical. People might be watching this now thinking you're crazy. Why aren't you searching the medical? Well, we've only just wiped our feet and barely made it into yellow food. That's going to become red food again very soon. So we want to keep moving. And if we catch another cold, that becomes our next priority. Notice how I'm sort of surviving area to area. Problem to problem. Instead of trying to get too far ahead of ourselves. Yeah, but what if I get this and what if I get that? I might find concussion medication over there that will allow me to move quicker. There you go. Now you've got a valid point. So now you've got a reason to search the medical. We've dropped into red food, so I don't need to search the medical anymore. Even if I cure my concussion, I'm still going to be walking slow because we're back in red food. It's not blinking anymore. So it's bought us another minute, maybe 2. Again, you live in hand to mouth, which you will do a lot of the time on these hardcore servers. But instead of dying at that summer camp, in my mind, that's a small win. We cured a cold. We had a little bit of soda, which basically helped our hydration. We cured our flashing hunger, but we're still starving, and we're still dying of it. And we're not dying of the cold because we got ourselves a nice cozy fire and a heat buff. Now, we've done the dirty work on this one, so we might as well search it. It's a medical zombie, and you never know. You might get lucky and find something lovely on it. A syringe. Propofol? I don't think propofol cures concussion. I think I need Neurox for that. But we're in such a state. We're in such a state that we're probably going to die anyway. I'm going to inject myself. What does it do? Oh shit, it's level 3 pain. Okay. The huge mistake I made there, well, not mistake, I knew it was going to happen. That wasn't a disinfected syringe. So 20 minutes down the line, 15 minutes down the line, we might catch sepsis now. And that will be another problem on our list, on our checklist of DayZ IntenZ hardcore problems to try and survive. But again, I'll reiterate, I quite like the reality, the realness of this content, this video. Our other 2 runs, where we had a spawn in Zletlo, and then we had a spawn in Nizhny. We had a bit of luck, didn't we? Let's be fair. And we managed to get to the end of that hour video, just over an hour, and we had a nice decision. We were like, we've got nice starting gear. Where do we want to go from here? This one has been more like the other 5 out of 10 lives that you will have on IntenZ. Maybe 6 out of 10 lives. Maybe 8 out of 10 lives if you're new to this style of DayZ. You might be seeing this type of life and recognizing it a lot more to be similar to your gameplay than what I myself or other content creators sometimes put out. Sometimes they'll do 2, 3, 4 takes. There's a lot of editing. No. 1 take. Live or die. Make terrible decisions. Make schoolboy errors. And this is it. This is how it is, you know? We're still not flashing Apple, even though we're yellow health and it's going down. So I'm just going to go to these boats. Whoop. Because look, fishing hook. And what would have been great is if we'd already found a rope. If we had maybe another blade, a box of matches or a lighter. We could have sat there fishing, cooked it in here, and saved this character's life and gone on an epic journey. It's such a fine line with IntenZ, particularly with the winter. Locked door. Maybe our friend from town came this way to get himself a fire. Themselves a fire. No. There's no used fireplace. I could pick up the holster, save myself some space. But at the risk of repeating myself over and over again, priorities. Our priorities now are to get up to these zombies and these 2 military tents, and there's also a Humvee that can spawn military loot, and we need to find a can of tack back, or we need to find sardines, tuna on the zombies, or we're going to die. And even then the food will be frozen and we'll need to put it in our jacket, and we saw how long it took for that soda to defrost. We've now hit red health, so it's probably curtains. We would have to find something that's already defrosted, in my opinion, for us to survive this. Or a flare, so that we could make a roadside fireplace to defrost the can of food in. And you can do that. You can dip the can, as long as it's not badly damaged, you can put it into the fireplace for just 1 second, maybe 2 seconds. It will defrost, and then you've got to immediately remove it before it ruins. But it's a way of sort of cheating the defrosting process. Oh, taking damage we don't need to be taking, really. We're already red health, but we're going out on our sword. This is what I would call this type of DayZ IntenZ run. We tried. We made a terrible decision at the beginning of wasting a flare when we didn't have enough insulation. We therefore didn't get the buff. We got the cold, which panicked us into leaving Zelenogorsk. We ended up curing the cold, but we've ended up dying of hunger. And why have we died of hunger, really? Because we didn't have the sufficient provisions to fish and fend for ourselves inland. And that's one of my key rules, isn't it? I think I've mentioned that a few times in videos. Make sure you're prepared. You've got rope, you've got bones, even if they're chicken bones, players' bones. Oh, there you go, matches. Wow, okay. If we found food now, defrosted, frozen food, sorry, on a zombie, we could get one of those little roadside campfires I said going. What's this dude doing? Oh, now we're in trouble. Oh, we got lucky then. Lucky that he dropped. One of you fellas carrying a little bit of sardines for your boy? Maybe? Please? You were just gonna have your lunch before the apocalypse hit? You still got that can of tack back on you? Sons of bitches. Wonderful. A rifle sling. Not going to get much nutrition out of that. The matches were big though, see? You can just get that zombie kill. Get that box of matches. Maybe one of these zombies had dropped a can of tack back or sardines, and it just gives you another 15 minutes to maybe get to the next town, to get over the next hurdle. Again, you're living hand to mouth. But personally, I love that. I love that it's ridiculously tough compared to vanilla. I go back to vanilla now and I get bored. If you're someone who watches the streams, you know that. There's one other house up on the left. We're now flashing health. There's a house up on the left. I don't think we'd have enough time to get there. Beautiful. Motorcycle helmet. We can make great use of that. I mean, if we saw the deer there, just like chilling in the trees, you could probably cap him. and then build a fire literally where he drops, and make a sharpened stick and pray to the gods that you cook one in time, you'd probably be better off eating a raw piece of venison, actually, getting food poisoning, but at least having some nutrition in you for a bit. That's always an option. Nibble on a bit of raw meat if you're, desperate, like this character is. But yeah, this is one of those runs where you make one wrong decision at the beginning, which snowballs into a disappointing hour-long struggle. But the struggle that we enjoy. The very next life we spawn in. I mean, I've put up a whole winter series as Michael, the character, in IntenZ, where we go pretty far. We go on a pretty epic journey, an epic run. And it's just by getting that little bit of luck, making the right decisions pretty much 100% of the time. Oh, look at that. A little bit of comfort as Michael passes over. See, that heat pack put me up into the white. Then the light blue. Doesn't know what it wants to do. But it's the one downward arrow on the food. It's not even the yellow hydration. It's the one downward arrow on the red food. We've taken a few knocks. We've taken a few licks. Now it's flashing food. From the beginning build, we went up through our perks. A couple of these went up 1 or 2. Nothing special. And this is one of those failures. If you play DayZ and IntenZ often enough, you'll know, even if you're an experienced player, 50% of the time, particularly when the winter set cycle comes along, this is the type of life you can expect to see. We made decisions at the beginning that cost us. And I hope if you learn nothing more from this, it's do not make a fire at the beginning of a winter life until you're sure you're going to get the buff. You need most of your clothing, jacket, pants, your hat, face mask, gloves, shoes. You need most of it to be medium or high insulation, or you will not get the buff. So don't waste that first flare like I did. And when you do find frozen sodas, beers, or cans of food, even if it's rotten, if you haven't got matches, a flare, or a lighter, you can put them in the best item of clothing insulation-wise. It's usually your jacket or your pants. So in my occasion now, it would be the pants, because it's best insulation. And over about 10 minutes, the item will defrost naturally. Look, he's got sepsis now to go on top of all his issues. I told you I'd get it. For experimenting with those drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. Look what happened to me. Don't do drugs, kids. It's really bad. Make sure you've got good insulation before you use that first flare. Make sure you get the buff. Then you've got a little bit of extra time to loot around for food, the hospital, the fire department. I hope at least you see the points of interest of Elektro, if you're new as well. And don't forget to put your frozen food or sodas in the best item of clothing you've got, insulation-wise. Because then you don't even have to start a fire to defrost that shit. But see, even Codfather can't be great every time he plays this godforsaken game. I hope when you play it, you'll make better decisions than he did. The silly Welsh son of a bitch. But anyway, please drop a like. Please subscribe if you like these type of chill run-throughs. Even when I fail. Occasionally. And we'll see you in the next one. And we'll be streaming next week, 4 days as usual. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.